Hi there. House of the Dragon just released its full final trailer for Season 2, and accompanying that, they had the usual tie-in interviews with Entertainment Weekly, talking to cast and crew. Made one big video about that, but I'm splitting off these smaller ones, each focused on a specific point, which couldn't sustain a bigger video, but I thought was more interesting and didn't want to get lost in the shuffle. This one is specifically on Corlys Velaryon and the new character Alyn of Hull, played by Raised by Wolves Abubakar Salim. That they describe that Alyn will be a soldier in the Velaryon fleet. Now, he has a brother, Addam, who is also a major character. We think Addam's a fisherman, owns a fishing boat, but Alyn specifically, they say, he's introduced as a sailor in the Velaryon fleet who served in the Stepstones campaign. That's a bit different from the books, where he was too young to have done that. So you see him in the trailer that we actually got our first shot of Alyn, that he's got a shaved head there, wonder what he's hiding, and that he is wearing Velaryon armor, he's a Velaryon soldier. And they talked about this, and there was another article specifically about Alyn, talking about how he is not a highborn, and that they wanted to stress that it's sort of like the fun interplay between when you have Bronn and Tyrion in a room, or Bronn and Jaime. That he's blunt, he isn't as affected as the other guys, he's more pragmatic, he doesn't talk quite the same. What's really fun is Abubakar Salim is actually really open with the fans. He's on social media, he's on Twitter, he actually answered a question I gave. Right, I hope you understood I was playfully joking of, wow, the interview stressed that you're not a highborn, so will you talk in a commoner accent? And there's the joke of, will you talk like Long John Silver, because you're a common soldier? No, what I mean is actually that's a real life thing of, basically, southwestern England, around Cornwall, was infamous for having a lot of pirates. That this was a common, there were a lot of ports, so there were a lot of pirates. And there was an actor who did a very famous, one of those early really famous adaptations of Treasure Island, played Long John Silver with this heavy Cornwall accent. And so what we think of a pirate accent is really a Cornwall accent because of this famous portrayal of Long John Silver. So I joked with him, oh, you're going to be talking like Long John Silver, that he's a commoner. And he gave us actually really nice, thoughtful response. Well, actually, I do try to think out the cadence of how a character talks, tell you so much about him, that think about it, like everyone we saw in Season 1, almost all of them were highborns. That this isn't that this is a working class person navigating their world as he moves up in it. So, I mean, the cadence of just how someone talks says so much, like playing a robot, that he's almost human but not quite, he's a little more rational, that I wouldn't say cold, but just his verbalization is more calculated. That is hard. If you've ever really tried doing that as more than a stereotype of like playing Data on Star Trek, is really difficult to portray a robot that is trying to sound human but not quite, and it just the pauses and the inflection. So, and that's for playing a robot like on Raised by Wolves. That in terms of class background or regional background, that is a whole thing with how does a character talk. But that was a tangent here. That's not really what I've come to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was this one quote they gave after that, which I just noticed about Corlys Velaryon. Corlys Velaryon returning, Steve Dussaint returning as Corlys, is playing it coy about the background of Addam and Alyn. Yeah, that certainly is a new dynamic of the incoming Alyn and Addam. One of the things that Corlys is having to deal with is past indiscretions coming back to haunt him. Okay, in the book, they introduce Alyn and Addam by saying they are the bastard sons of Laenor. And everyone goes, well, Laenor was not really, so this leads to the Greens and others speculating, I think they're Corlys's bastards, that he's passing off as his son's bastards. And this is one of those unreliable narrator moment things, because we know Corlys had a loving marriage with his wife, Rhaenys. We don't know what's going on here. And they don't give a definitive answer. We don't know, and it's debated in the fandom. And my thing is, I thought Season 1 was trying to actually introduce ambiguity to that. That, remember on the beach when Rhaenyra is talking to Laenor, and she goes, it's a matter of taste and appetite. Some people just like goose, some people don't. And the way he phrases it, he goes, wasn't for lack of trying. That they imply that Laenor has had sex with women before but didn't like it. So my running theory is that this is from when think about how much of that he was struggling with his sexuality, he was in denial, he was trying to whatever. He may have had children in a prior, like a year before he married Rhaenyra, or something. The other thing is the ages of the actors they cast, that he'd have to be a lot older than, like, 16 or so, so I don't know what they're trying to do with that. Then again, people play against age, so whatever. So I prefer if they kept the ambiguity. Like, in the books it's ambiguous whether Rhaenyra's sons are actually bastards or not, because, dude, her mother's father was Lord Arryn. And now that these the photos of Jane Arryn, played by Amanda Collin of Raised by Wolves, are coming out, people going, wow, Jace looks so much like Jane Arryn. Yeah, because he looks like his Arryn grandfather. I wish they'd play that more ambiguously in the TV show, but with Laenor and Corlys, it's a whole different thing of, does the way they phrase this really admit, yup, they're Corlys's? Because all he says is indiscretions. I've said this before, but to keep it short, what I think happened to keep, why wouldn't they just say they're Laenor's? And look, at this point, this is me honeypotting, this is me making convoluted fan theories, but this is the way I would do it to preserve the ambiguity. And they might do this. Have people suggest maybe they're Corlys's. Have Rhaenyra remember, like in flashback, oh, not for lack of trying. Maybe they're Laenor's, I'm not sure. And then later on, there's a point where they say there's this big point where Addam and Alyn talk to Corlys and in private, and no one knows what they said after a big battle. I wonder if, as basically the medieval version of conversion therapy, Corlys forced Laenor at sword point in a brothel or something, or no, not a brothel, Marilla wasn't a whore, but have a relationship with this merchant's daughter, Marilda of Hull. They were reasonably well off. Marilda owns her own tiny shipping fleet of 7 ships. That he basically forced his son to have sex with a woman. And how do you know you don't like it if you haven't tried it? And that the indiscretion is that he feels guilty about doing this to his son. That this was very cruel of him. But he was trying to fix him. So if I was doing this, I'd play that back and forth of you wonder, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, go back and forth, then you really think Corlys is, and then have this thing readmits, I basically forced my son into conversion therapy, and that's how you originated. That's how they are actually his bastard sons. And then you get into the whole thing of the TV show and didn't really introduce, well, they keep stressing you need Targaryen blood to get the Dragon Rider gene. It's really anyone of Valyrian blood. And on top of that, the Velaryons have intermarried with minor Targaryen daughters now and again over the centuries. So I'm not sure how they would address that, well, the TV show, if Addam and Alyn, could they be potential dragon riders if they're not of Targaryen blood? You need to address, well, it's of Valyrian blood. Or that, well, no, Laenor is the grandson of King Jaehaerys through Rhaenys. He is, and that would bring up so many other political things of that. Arguably, Addam and Alyn could be the lawful heirs to the Iron Throne, depending on if you legitimize a bastard. That if they really are Laenor's, they are the, through primogeniture, if Rhaenys should have been on the throne, Laenor's sons, as legitimized bastards, could have a better claim than Jace or Baela or anyone. So there's an argument there. So I don't know how they're playing this, and they go, Corlys has to deal with his prior indiscretions. Does that mean forcing your son to have bastard children?